Hello and welcome to Thriving in Business with me, Kirsty Waite. And as normal, I'm coming to share with you some business tips, inspiration, and just general chat, all about helping you become intentional about creating a profitable business that you love. And in today's episode, I am super excited to be joined by the lovely Helen Pamely, the wellness coach. Welcome, Helen.
Hi, Kirsty. Lovely to join you today.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to chat to Helen because I came across Helen on LinkedIn and we just kind of became LinkedIn buddies. And I just loved having Helen on my newsfeed because she is literally the most positive, lovely post going. And what really attracted me to you, Helen, I think this is what I think a lot of people listening will get out of our conversation today, is your journey from, you have moved from being a former city law firm partner to a wellness coach. And when you think about city law firms, the notorious for being high stress environments, to wellness coach, like you don't see those two things going hand in hand. And I find it super interesting that you balance these two things for a while and then now you're leading the way and being the wellness coach. So I'm super excited to talk to you and for everyone to hear your journey on that path. So for the people listening who haven't come across your feed yet, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself and share what it is that you actually do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Kirsty. It's just great to be here today. So, I've been a lawyer by trade, been a lawyer for 10 years, and I actually just left my firm a few weeks ago, and I was partner there. And it's really interesting because I think when I was younger, I was just dead set on law. I went to uni, I did well there. I got a job in the city, which was fantastic, at one of the really big firms. And I think the thing for me was that what came apparent to me, not just in the legal world, but the corporate world, the finance world, really quickly, was actually how much there was a real need for more emphasis on well-being, how much more needed to be done, just how many people were perhaps behind closed doors actually struggling. And I really wanted to feel like I could help people in my sector. I just sort of, saw this for myself and thought, it can't just have to be this way. It must be that we can do things differently. So a few years into my legal career, actually, I ended up going on this sort of yoga meditation retreat and getting totally snowed in Scotland. And
that sounds idyllic.
It sounds idyllic, but it was like this really old farmhouse, hundreds of years old. It was to the point where you had to have sort of hot water bottles strapped, and you couldn't go anywhere because we were completely snowed in. And while I was doing all of this sort of mindfulness work, I met this lady actually who was a psychotherapist, and she told me about this amazing psychotherapy course, sort of mindfulness based. And it was at that moment that I thought, I just have to do this. So cutting a very long story short, I sort of, retrained as a psychotherapist, retrained in mental health, learned all about well-being. And then I started to think about, how can I bring this back to my sector? How can I bring this to the city in a way that, isn't woo-woo, that isn't in a way that's, really down to earth and easy to implement for people in their everyday lives. So then I started doing workshops, trainings, coachings, and sort of here I am today. And so I don't really do much psychotherapy anymore, but my emphasis is really on coaching, because then I can bring myself, my experience, and put that with me.
I love that. I love that story. To be fair, I can imagine that being a bit of an experience in Scotland, but it sounds so lovely that you kind of like, no, this was pivotal. Like this, I need to do something about this. How was that received back in the city? Because like you say, when you mentioned there about it being woo, and when you talk about people in those sectors, they're very logical, like data-driven people and law-driven. They don't want to know about that mindfulness necessarily all the time, do they? So like, how was that received when you went back with that great idea?
I think it's a real mix. I mean, I think there's a few things. At that point, actually, I switched firm to the firm I just left. And I had a great experience there, really, because actually the managing partner, she allowed me to work part-time. So actually I climbed through the ranks whilst being part-time, which is, quite cutting edge for the legal sector, I think, still, and that worked really well. So I was supported in that sense while I did my master's. I think on the other hand, it's like in the legal sector, we see that there's a need for well-being. We've got reports, we've got surveys showing that actually the state of mental health and etc. in the legal sector is really lacking. So I think on paper, people are really up for it. They think that sounds great. Tell us more about that. I think the problem comes when we want to implement this into everyday life, because the culture of the legal world is often, work till you drop. If you've got a deadline, that's all that matters. And often it's the case that sort of well-being will come second. So I think on paper, people are really interested. They want to know more. The question mark comes around, how do we actually implement this in a way which works for the sector?
Yeah, that's a really good question, isn't it? Because I think what we see in, not just in law, but I think in a lot of sectors, is that they want to do the right thing on paper. So they want to tick a box. They want to make sure that they look like they doing this. But actually, it's the day-to-day, creating the time, giving your employees the option to do the things that you're going to provide for them, whatever that looks like. And I think that's the biggest change in the culture of creating it. And I'm not sure what it's like in the legal sector, but I think with Generation Z coming through, they are just making huge movements. And I just feel like the landscape is changing. And I feel like people are having to change with it, or they're going to be left behind to some degree.
I think there is that. I think there is a push from sort of Gen Z and even the millennials in terms of what we want from life, and how we make that happen. But I think it's really interesting, the work I do. I mean, I work with both firms and individuals, and I think you can sort of take a two-pronged approach. The firm has to have, in an ideal world, a culture which is sort of really, imbibing well-being. And actually, the fact of the matter is, this does positively affect the bottom line. I think that's sometimes the challenge. It's sort of showing people that actually this is going to positively affect your firm, your company. You are actually going to make more money. You're going to have happier employees. You're going to be more effective. So we've got that whole side of it. But I think what often happens in the legal sector, and also just the corporate world, is that we attract a lot of high flyers, a lot of Oxbridge graduates, people who are perfectionists, who are set out to achieve. And actually, this sort of person, and I kind of include myself in this as well, I'm not saying somebody else at all, I recognize it, is that actually we are our own worst enemy a lot of the time. And it's about coming to the realization of what you actually need to feel good, and actually that you can do things to improve your life dramatically.
And I think it's about giving ourselves permission to do that, because we always equate working harder to working better. Being a high performer means putting the hours in. Being successful means working really hard. And all these things aren't necessarily helpful or healthy for our mind. And I think when you say there about the bottom line, that in a corporate world is literally the stopping. Like, if you can't impact the bottom line tangibly, there's no conversation to have, is there? And I think that's a really difficult thing to convince people when I feel like with coaching, it's quite intangible. Like, how can you tangibly say, I'm going to impact your bottom line with this by doing this? Whereas just general overall well-being, the health and happiness of your employees, the fulfillment, how engaged they are, how much more happy at work they are, has such a massive knock-on effect on their effectiveness, like on how loyal they are, how their sickness. And it's like, it just all adds up. And when you think about it, why would you not want to encourage this in your workplace? So when was the trigger? Because like you say, you've just left your law firm, and I know you work part-time. And so when was the actual triggering point for you to go, I need to make this my full-time business? What drove that?
Yeah, I mean, to make it my full-time business, I think it was round about last summer, because at that point I was sort of running my own psychotherapy practice, and I was also starting to do lots more workshops, trainings, that sort of thing. And then I started becoming a bit more present on LinkedIn. And this was a big journey for me, actually. It's strange, because I think I started doing a lot of videos and things like that. And they started to get quite a bit of attention, a lot of people reaching out to me. And what's strange is that I always hear that, you come across as really relaxed and chilled out in your videos, which is true. I do feel relaxed when I do them, but I'm not a natural social media person at all. So for me to actually, especially, it's not just Instagram, put it on LinkedIn, which is our business community, of all the people who I used to work for when I was a trainee, actually to put that out there and start talking about this stuff was slightly terrifying, but I was amazed by the feedback from it, and so many amazing direct messages I get all the time. People don't want to share publicly, and that's where I really feel I'm making a difference. And people saying to me, "Can I work with you?" And it was at that point I thought, you know what, actually, I can make this work. I feel I've really got a purpose here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's when you're coming from the heart, and that it's so courageous what you've just said of like you're showing up talking about well-being and wellness on video on a business platform where people know you as this high achieving lawyer from the city, and you are talking about something completely different. That's so courageous. But when it comes from the heart and you've got this purpose and passion-led business, it kind of helps you get over that, doesn't it? I think. And you know what I really love about you, Helen, is like you have been there, you've done it, you've experienced it. Like when you are helping people, you know their pain, like you've been there. And I think that speaks volumes. And I think that really, really helps when people are reaching out because they understand that you understand them. And I think that's such a huge thing in what you're trying to achieve.
I think that's right. I think for me, that's why I feel I can make such a difference here. It's, for example, I've got one coaching client, and she's very senior in a corporation. She's head of legal, and it's like we'll talk about different time zones and the fact of working across 7 different time zones, and actually understanding. I completely understand what that feels like when you can't switch off, and we have conversations around this on a weekly basis. How can you manage your well-being with that in mind? And I think without having lived that yourself, you can't actually really understand what it feels like when you've got from Australia, the States, India, constant input, and how do you deal with that? And how can you feel good in yourself amongst all of that?
Absolutely. And it's like you've got the credibility there, haven't you? It's like it's one thing that you don't have to work to prove, because I think when anyone's starting out in business, and it doesn't matter on your background, it's like it's proving you're credible in what you're doing now in this business, but knowing where you've come from and the background you've got is already showing I get it, like you're credible in what you're trying to achieve because you've been there and you're trying to make an impact in your sector in a positive way by doing what you're doing, which I think is amazing. So talk to me about your business and about the values that you what values are you bringing with you? Like what's important to you, and how do you make sure that they are lived and breathed every day in your business?
Well, I think for me that what sort of my slogan is like unlocking your potential for well-being performance. So for me, they're intrinsically interlinked. I think, we can only perform to a certain extent if we're not feeling that good in ourselves. So it's all about really unlocking, feeling good in yourself. Like how can you achieve what you want to achieve in life? Now we can talk specifically about careers, we can talk about short-term goals, but actually what we're really doing here is we're talking about the essence of you. We're trying to remove all of those limiting beliefs, like all of those things which hold you back. And I guess for me, this is a journey I've been on. It's a journey I'm still on. I think we're always on this journey to finding out who we really are, what really makes us good. Do we dare to live the life we really want to lead? And how do we make that happen? And what are we telling ourselves in terms of that we can't have that? So that's what sort of I feel like my journey's been about. That's what I try to inspire in other people. And in terms of values, I mean, I was thinking about this actually before our session today, and I think sort of 3 really core values for me in this are 1, open-heartedness, coming from the heart, coming from the right place. I think you can feel it in people. You can feel if they're fully present with you or really interested in you and just coming from that right place. The second one of them is like courage and being brave, every day turning up, sort of feeling the fear, but doing it anyway.
I love
the
that.
third one of them is, I think, authenticity. And this is a term bandied around a lot, but for me, this means showing up as much as I can, showing up every day, unapologetically as me. Trying to be brave enough to do that. And I think sort of I can do that for myself, and hopefully I can inspire other people to do the same thing.
I love that. And that's 3 really strong values, and I really relate to those. And when you say about dare to lead the life you want. And then that takes courage, doesn't it? And it's having the courage to do that. And that's what it's inspiring to see, that your journey you've been on, and that you're doing that. You're taking those brave, courageous steps to create that life that you really want. And authenticity. Oh, I did a post about this earlier this week about authenticity, because I started the post and like, I know everyone's bored of like authenticity and it's bandied around and it's an overused term, but for me, authenticity was literally the number one value when I started my business, because I'd felt like I'd just been behind the mask for so long, working in the corporate world, never truly shown up as me. And then I'd spent some time looking back over the videos I'd created from my business in the beginning. And I feel like, compared to how I feel now, they weren't as me as I am now, because now I've gone through that journey of being brave, putting myself out there and feeling really comfortable to show up as me. But when I look back, I feel how scary that was for that person in that video who was me. And whilst I look back and go, oh my goodness, that video makes me cringe. And I'm like, yeah, but I did it anyway. Like, I knew it was scary. I knew it was hard. I knew, and like what you've just said, when you've shown up as much as you can as yourself, that's all you can do. And then it will feel easier, and you will feel like you can take the mask down a bit more. And then you'll step out without your mask on, and it'll be like, here I am. So authenticity is so important, and I really relate to that.
And I think that's something that as well, like just, you know, especially in the corporate world, I think we can often feel as though we can't be ourselves. It's like we have to be something else. You know, we look at people above us and think, oh, to make partner, or, you know, to get that promotion, I have to look a certain way, or not say that thing, or, you know, fit in. And I think it's really starting to realize, you know, what is your power, and that's the way. The difference between, I think, being at the lower and mid levels of any organization and then the top is that if you're getting to the top, you have to bring something different. And I think for me, it was interesting because it was actually when I started to awake these other passions in my life that I started really rising through the ranks, because I started embracing my talents more, and I stopped comparing myself so much against other people. I think we're all different, and we all have to start recognizing what's special about us rather than looking outside of ourselves to find the answers. You know, you've got to make your case if you're going for promotion or going for the top, that you're adding something new and you're adding value. So what is that?
Exactly. And it's our spice that makes us special, isn't it? And I think we lose that a little bit in the corporate world, because like you say, it's like, who do I need to be talking to? What do I need to be saying? How do I need to be showing up if I want that promotion? Like, this is the box I need to fit in to sit around that table. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, how do you dress? How do you speak? Who do you network with? And all this comes in. Whereas when if you're just authentically you just turn up and you're you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, something I really struggled with when I started working for myself is what I wear, right? Because like, I had, you know, the corporate dresses with the blazers and the high heels, and honestly, I have never worn that outfit since I left, right? And sitting here now in a pink jumper, I would have once upon a time been gone, I'm so unprofessional sitting in a pink jumper. And I'm like, but this doesn't help. This doesn't stop us having a really energetic, productive, inspiring conversation because I've got a pink jumper on. Do you know what I mean? And it's so bizarre, the things that we go through. But I think we have been kind of brought up in that environment of, this is what you do, this is what you wear, this is how you have to fit in. But like you say, it's actually our uniqueness that shows how great we are. And it's having the courage to step out of that box and being like, this is me.
Exactly. And I think this is what we're starting to see in the legal sector as well. It's people, we've got sort of pioneers like Alice Stevenson, who set up Stevenson Law, she's got loads of tattoos. I think she was a teenage mum, and you know, she's always saying loads of inspirational stuff all over different platforms, you know, but she's not afraid to say it like it is and to be different and to be completely her. And I think this is maybe the new generations, the new wave of social media. It, you know, actually, you know, things are changing, and it's really interesting to see who's out there and what they're saying and what they're bringing. And you know, I can really relate to what you're saying about the corporate wear. I think probably for most of my career as a lawyer, probably because it was easier, I generally always wore black. And actually now, you know, stepping out into sort of my own business, it's really thinking about actually, how do I want to look? What colours do I want to wear? What does that say about me? And you know, I remember actually as a trainee solicitor turning up to this meeting, and she was quite senior. There was a lady there who turned up in this amazing turquoise suit. And I remember thinking, I love that suit. Doesn't she look amazing? And if only I was senior enough to wear that.
Oh, when you look back now in that thought, even just having that thought, if I was senior enough, when I'm senior, I can wear turquoise suits.
It is. But what's crazy is I think, you know, still, you know, I don't think there are many trainees out there who would turn up in a turquoise suit, and it probably would raise a few eyebrows. And that's kind of the reality we're still working in, you know, and for better or for worse, you know. And I think this is the thing. It's actually really noticing these things and saying, hold on a minute, should it be this way? Why do we all wear black? What do people expect a lawyer to look like? Where am I even getting that from?
Do you know, I went to do you know Holly? Have you heard of Holly Tucker, the founder of Not on the High Street?
Oh yes,
Oh, she's amazing. And I remember before COVID going to a festival, and she was speaking, and she was and I was in the world of corporate at that point, and she was so inspiring. And she was sat on stage, and she had this amazing, big, loud, flowery, colourful dress on, and she looked fabulous, and she had glittery trainers on, and she was sat, and she put a photo of herself up because she left Not on the High Street, but she owns a business called Holly & Co now that helps small product-based businesses. She's phenomenal. Anyway, she was chatting away, and she was like, this was me when I was in corporate. She's like, the day I walked away, I vowed never to dress like corporate again. She's like, she had the black stilettos on, the tube dress, like literally the outfit I've just described. And she's like, now I walk into my boardroom with glittery trainers on, a big bow in my hair. And I was sat listening to her thinking, that's me. I want to be like that. And it's literally like, go home, right? There's no work outfit. There's no home outfit. It's one. Like, who do I want to be? And I want to show up as that person every day, regardless if I'm going to a meeting or going out for lunch for coffee. Do you know what I mean? It's like having that confidence to go, this is me, and I'm going to just show up as me regardless. But that takes time, doesn't it? Like, you can't just, when you talk about being a trainee solicitor or a lawyer, like, you can't just turn up like that. Well, you can, but it's like, it's really going against the grain, and having the courage to do that, I think there's
courage. And then I think also there's something about just the culture of industries in the sector, because I think you do have to be really careful what you do. I don't think, you know, I think if you turned up from head to toe in glitter as a lawyer,
it wouldn't go down well.
I don't know, depending on what you're doing. I don't know how well that would go down, but I think it's just, for me, it's really about shining a light on, you know, it's just like, who do we feel we really are, and how can we show up in each area of our life while still remaining that connection with our authenticity? We don't have to necessarily you know, do the head to toe glitter thing, although, you know, in some parts of our life we might want to, and I think that's just wonderful. But it's like, how can we not lose touch with our real talents, who we are, and what we bring in any context?
Absolutely. So thinking back to you in that trainee role, and you now, looking back, what advice would you give younger Helen from where you are now?
Yeah, so I think for me it would be, I think it took me probably quite a long time to really come to know myself and my own voice. And I think it would be around really trusting my own heart, my own, you know, what's really drawing me and what's pulling me. And I think that's always a continuous journey, but not always thinking that other people are right. They might seem like they might know more than you. They might be more experienced, but ultimately trusting yourself.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Like, I really do. I think listening to your intuition and trusting yourself. But especially when we're younger, that's sometimes we easily set aside our own thoughts and feelings, don't we? Because whether that's someone's more experienced, someone knows better, you know, imposter syndrome, whatever that may be. But absolutely, that piece of advice, I think a lot of people can take that away, and just giving yourself the time to think about it as well, you know. For sure.
Absolutely. And I think as women as well, we're often not taught to trust our own voice. I do a lot of work with women around sort of, you know, what is it you actually really feel? What do you think? Not your partner, not your boss, not your children. Actually, what you feel right now. And I think, you know, this is something which goes back a very long way generationally. But I think as women, you know, we're really starting to find our voice now. We've got a whole new wave, you know, coming along, I think, at the moment. But, you know, often as women, I think we repress this voice so much. It takes a while to get back in touch with it.
Absolutely. And I think following people like yourselves and being surrounded by those women who want to make a difference is just changing the world for female business owners, like, for sure. So if people want to come and find you, Helen, and follow you and learn more about your wonderful business, where can they come and find you?
Well, yeah, so I mean, I'm obviously on LinkedIn. I do quite a lot on Instagram, and I've got a Facebook page as well, business page for that. And I'm actually starting to try and work out how I'm branching out into TikTok and even Twitter and all those platforms. I'm trying to get down with the kids, so watch the space for that.
Awesome. I can't wait to see those. I'll tag you in the comments so people can easily link to your profile and they can come and check you out. But I'm really excited for what you're creating and the positivity that you're putting out into the world and into the sector of law. And yeah, the future is bright for sure, Helen. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thanks so much for having me, Kirsty.
Take care.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.